Hello, everyone. This is Canadian Chris, and I'm here to bring you travel advice on planning your next trip to Europe. Step number one is to really decide where you want to go. There's really no sense of beginning the whole planning process unless you know which part of the world you want to go to. Maybe you don't even want to go to Europe. Maybe you prefer Asia or Africa. Or maybe you prefer to just road trip to the next city over. The second step, though, once you've decided that you do want to go to Europe, you have a couple of options on how to go about traveling Europe. First, you can travel solo or with a group of friends and do it on your own. Or you can travel as part of an organized tour. I've done both myself, and I give you some pluses and minuses of each. First, an organized tour group is really great if it's going to be your first trip to Europe. It's a good way to get a crash course of many cities, and you can return to them later. Great way to meet new people. And it's definitely a great way to see a whole lot of Europe in a small amount of time. My first trip was with Top Deck. We had about 14 days and visited about 7 cities, which is definitely a tight timeline, but for us, it was just the right amount of time. I saw some cities I liked, some cities I haven't returned to yet. But all in all, it's definitely a great way to get acclimatized to the whole European travel experience, and then eventually, when you have that travel itch again, you can return to whichever city you like, or maybe you return to another tour route. You like tours so much that you want to do it again, and you visit somewhere else. Traveling solo can definitely be rewarding as well. You definitely learn a lot about yourself. You step out of your comfort zone, and you can really experience Europe the way you want to, because you really don't have to answer to anybody else. However, don't let me discourage you from traveling with friends, because I've done that as well, and that can also be a whole lot of fun. It's definitely a lot safer to travel with friends, because you always have somebody watching your back. If you do get lost, you always have somebody there with you as well. And maybe they push you into doing something that you never even thought of. For example, a friend of mine wanted to try out a cooking course in Italy. That's definitely something that I personally would not have thought of, but definitely something that it's a worthwhile venture. Third step is to determine now what cities you want to visit. If you're going with a tour group, your whole planning will definitely be a lot easier. You simply write down a list of what cities you want to visit, go onto the website, and pick which tour works best for you. I will leave a link at the bottom to a couple of my recommended tour groups. The one I've done is Top Deck. Kentucky is another good one, especially if you're in the 18 to 35 age range. And there are a couple other tour groups that others, maybe a little bit older, maybe a little bit more mature, will definitely enjoy. If going solo, determining what cities you want to visit is extremely important. I recommend listing out which cities you want to visit, prioritize them 1, 2, 3, and 4, and go from there. And this leads me into point number 4, determining the logistics of how you're going to visit each city. For example, on my trip coming up next week, I will be visiting Berlin, Prague, Budapest, and Vienna. These 4 cities are, roughly in the same general area, very easy to get to on a train. Even if you're going from Berlin to Budapest, it's about on the night train, about 12 hours or so. So it's really not too bad, especially since I'll be sleeping through most of that travel time. But going from, say, Berlin to Prague, for example, that's only about 4.5 hours. Very easy to get to. You don't even need a flight. What I would recommend against, for example, don't do, say, Paris, then Athens, then back to London, and then ending off, say, in Kiev, because that's where your flight going home is leaving from. Going from one part of the continent down to the other, and then back to the same one that you just left, only to end off way over here, really doesn't make sense. Yes, it can be done, especially if you're doing flights, but that can definitely get quite expensive. Maybe you want to do Paris and London, and then adding another city in there like Amsterdam, or even going down a little bit south to Barcelona. And then if you really want to do Athens and Kiev another time, boom, there's your second trip. And then you start off in Kiev, maybe work your way down through Belgrade, and then all the way down to down into Athens. Next, you really should decide, are you a hostel traveler or a hotel traveler? Both have pluses and minuses. Hostels definitely a lot cheaper, but you will find a lot less privacy. You're usually sharing a room with 3 other people, sometimes in excess of 12 other people. Some of us may want our own space. Nothing wrong with that at all. So you might want to go the hotel option. It is a little bit more costlier to go with a hotel, but you may be a lot more comfortable. And for some of us, there's no price on comfort. In hostels, you will definitely meet a lot more people, especially since you will have roommates. But also, if you go the hotel route, yet you still want to meet people, there are other ways to do that. You can do local walking tours and meet people that way in each city. So you can meet people while learning something about the city, which is obviously very important. If you're more in the younger generation and you're into the nightlife, doing pub crawls as well is another great way of meeting people while still having the comfort and luxury of a hotel and being a bit secluded and having your own space. Number 6, I would definitely say do your research on the currencies. In Europe, obviously the euro is the main currency that you will come across. However, what not a lot of many people do know about is that some of the other countries like the Czech Republic or Hungary, they have their own currency. Both countries do take euros. The exchange rate might be a little bit different depending on where you go, so I would definitely recommend before you leave, do your research on currency exchanges. I always do my currency exchange here in Canada before I leave. I budget how much I'm going to need in each city and make sure I take that amount. And if I do find myself I fall short, obviously I can withdraw some more money while I'm there. Definitely don't want to do that too often because your bank will hit you with some of those nasty banking fees. But definitely make sure you are aware that there are different currencies for some different countries out there. That's all that I have for this week. I will come to you next week from the great country of Germany, Berlin, Germany. So until then, thank you all for watching. Please remember to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next week.